Hello and welcome to our lecture. The lecture today is going to be about production costs. We will explain the different classifications of costs and the different types and everything you need to know about costs included in any business. For any business to survive, it must make a profit that exceeds the costs included. So I have to know what are my expenditures, what is the total value of the costs that I have, so that I can decide what will be the selling price, and I will therefore determine the amount of profit that I'm seeking to get. Let's say, for example, your income of your business is $50,000. The cost is $40,000. This means that you are getting a profit of $10,000. If you weren't making any profit, you will not be able to survive for a longer period of time. On the contrary, if your income was $50,000 and the costs included were $60,000, then you are having a loss of $10,000. This means that you will not continue with this business and you will close eventually. Now, the industrial costings are classified into several methods, but we have two main classifications for the cost. We can classify the costs into fixed and variable costs, or direct and indirect costs. Let's begin with the first classification, which is related to the variable costs and the fixed costs. If I want to define what is the variable cost, it is the cost included in our manufacturing, but it changes as the production level increases. Same thing if we are working with service, the output level, if it increases, then your variable costs will increase as well. However, the fixed costs will remain the same regardless of the output or the sales level or the production level. If I want to explain more what is the fixed cost, I said that it's a fixed cost. This means that it will remain the same, it will remain constant for any level of production. Let's say, for example, I'm working in a factory, okay, and I want to calculate what are the costs included. No matter what is the type of production, I will have to make classifications of all the costs included. First of all, don't I have the cost of the building? Maybe this building is rented, or maybe I have bought it using a loan and I have to repay it to the bank, so this is a cost. We also have the cost of the equipment that I purchased for production. I have the insurance, I have rent of other equipment maybe. We have the salaries of the employees. So I have a certain amount of money that has to be paid at the end of each month. It is fixed no matter what. Even if I closed this factory and I didn't do any production, I will still have to pay all these amounts each month. So this amount of money is fixed. So the fixed costs can be known if I can tell ahead what is the cost that I'm gonna pay next month and the next month, so I can calculate the total amount of fixed costs and I can express them as annual payments. So as I said, it's an amount of money that has to be paid no matter what, even if I didn't produce any unit. However, with respect to the variable costs, this is a variable cost. This means that it varies with respect to the level of production or the level of output. As the output increases, the variable cost increases. As the output decreases, the variable cost will decrease. Why? Because this is the cost that includes labor costs, raw material, power to operate the production equipment. This means that if I decided that I'm gonna increase my production level, I want to produce let's say triple the quantity that I was producing last month, so I'll have to prepare for this production level. So this means that I'm gonna buy triple the raw material used. I might need to hire triple the number of labor existing or double the shifts in order to be able to produce this amount needed. So as you increase the production, you will have to increase your raw material and labor who are working to be able to achieve this new output. So as the production level increases, the amount of raw material will increase and the labor hours used will increase. So that's why this type of cost is referred to as the variable cost. Now here, with respect to the power, if you are saying that I'm calculating the total of the power consumption, let's say for example the electricity bill by the end of the month came with a value of $100. Okay, now this $100 is it for the total energy consumed for the lighting of all of the facilities, whether it is the production shop floor or the offices and so on? No, I have to be specific. If I'm calculating the power cost for a certain product, then I will have to calculate the number of hours I have used a certain machine that will give me this product. So I will have to specify. We have the electricity bill for all of the other purposes. This is not related to the variable cost. It is a little bit related to the fixed costs. The variable cost will be only the cost of electricity that I spent in order to operate using this machine, which is related to my production. So I need to be able to specify each cost, whether under the variable cost or the fixed cost. Now, what will be the total cost included, having known the variable and the fixed cost? Simply, the total cost is the summation of the fixed cost plus the variable cost. Now, we said that the fixed cost is a fixed amount. However, the variable cost is not. So I need to identify the equation related to it so that I can be able to calculate exactly what will be the variable cost. So I need to be aware of these terms. TC is the total annual cost, dollars per year. FC is the fixed annual cost, dollars per year. V is the variable cost per unit. Only the unit that I'm producing, I want to see what is its related variable cost. Then I will have to calculate the overall quantity produced in order to be able to calculate the variable cost. So the total cost, as we said, since it's including the fixed and the variable cost, then the total cost also will change as we change the level of production or the level of sales, or in general your output. So this means that if the output or the production or the sales increase, so the total cost will increase as well. On the other case, if the output or the sales fall or decrease, then the total costs will decrease as well. Now we have the other classification. The first classification was related to fixed and variable costs. The second classification of costs include the direct labor, the material, and overhead. Let's explain what's meant by each one. When I say direct labor, the direct labor costs will be the summation of all the salaries, wages, and benefits that I'm paying for the workers who are operating on a certain specific production equipment. Maybe they are doing other steps or tasks, but all of these tasks should be related to your production. The material cost is the cost of all the raw material used to make a specific product. Let's say, for example, in the case of a stamping plant, what will be the raw material? We will have the steel sheets that we will be using. This means that I'm gonna prepare some steel sheets, then I will let these sheets enter to the stamping machine in order to do the stamps. So the raw materials will be the steel sheets. And another example, for example here, the rolling machine that will make the sheets, the steel sheets. What will be the raw material? It will be the iron ore. So first of all, I will begin with the iron ore to make the steel sheets. This is the raw material for the milling machine. The next step is taking those steel sheets to the stamping machine. So in each step, you'll have to know what is your raw material so that later on it will be easier for you to calculate the costs. Another example here, in the assembly of any a certain product, the material included will be the component parts. So you will get some component parts from different suppliers. Then you will do the assembly in your factory. Then your raw materials will be those parts that you have manufactured. The parts that you have assembled, because they were already been manufactured by other suppliers. So if I tell you, for example, we have a plastic factory manufacturing different types of products. We have the plastic tables, plastic chairs, plastic containers of different sizes, and so on. And I need to calculate the exact cost of each product alone so that I will be able to give it a proper price. Now, I will have to look at the costs related to each product alone. Let's take the tables, for example. For manufacturing the plastic tables, I need to specify what was the amount of raw material, which is in this case the plastic, was used to manufacture a single table. Then I will look at the labor. How many workers were used in order to get one table? Is it a production line, or is it working through stations? What was the process? So you'll have to specify the process and count the number of laborers working at each step of this process. Calculate the total number of hours spent by each labor, so that you will calculate the total number of hours spent in order to manufacture one table. Then what do we do with this piece of information? I know the total number of hours used. You will have to know the salary of each labor. What is the labor hour used? Is it, let's say, $5 per hour? So you will calculate total numbers of hours and multiply it by the rate and the salary of each labor. Maybe, let's say, the process included 3 or 4 steps. One of the steps, the salary of the labor was a little bit more than the other labor. Let's say at the first step, I used 1 labor hour and the labor hour was $5. The second step, I used half an hour and the hour rate is $5 as well. The third step, I used 1 hour but the rate was $10 because it's a little bit complicated step and I used a specialized labor. So at each step you will calculate total number of hours used and the salary of each labor performing this step, so that you will calculate the final total amount of hours spent multiplied by the rate at each step to calculate the final labor salary or the labor dollars spent. Then you will add it to the raw material amount, which is then is calculated in terms of dollars, This will give you a rough estimate about the total costs that you spent manufacturing one single unit of these manufactured tables. Once you get your costs, you will be able to specify what will be the price, because you know the costs, you will add a margin for the profit, and then you will be able to get the selling price for each unit. So that's why it's very important to know your variable costs, your fixed costs, because it's crucial for determining whether you're gonna make profits or losses, whether you're gonna survive the market or not. Now the last type of costs is related to overhead. With respect to overhead, it is the other expenses associated with running the firms. Okay, we have been addressing the shop floor or the production floor only, but this is not the only department that I have in my company. So we have to take into consideration the other costs or other expenses being running. So we have two types of overhead. We have the factory overhead and we have the corporate overhead. Let's see what's the difference. With respect to the factory overhead, it consists of all of the costs of operating the factory other than the direct labor and direct material. I have determined the direct labor and direct material alone in my shop floor. Now I will have to look at other costs included. We have the plant supervision. The supervisor who is watching the production is not only watching the labor who are manufacturing the tables, they are watching the laborers and supervising the other laborers who are working on manufacturing the other products such as the chairs and the containers and so on. So if I know the salary of the supervisor, is it related directly to one of the manufactured products or is it related to all of them? It's related to all of the other products because he's supervising all the work. So it's not directly related to the manufacturing of a single product. However, the presence of the supervisors makes sure that the product is being manufactured as it should be. So his existence in the factory is very important. So this is an example of other expenses that need to occur in the facility other than the production, which is crucial for the success of the final product. Another example is the maintenance. You have to do periodic maintenance. Later on you will study that we have several types of maintenance. You can do maintenance before the problems occur to make sure that your production line keeps going on. Sometimes you do the maintenance once there's a problem happening, but in this case you'll have to stop your production to fix the problem. So we have to do maintenance no matter what's the type of maintenance, and this maintenance is related for all the equipment. So also this is an overhead because it's not directly related to one of the equipment. We are doing maintenance maybe for all of the equipment. Security, you will hire security for the warehouse, which includes all the raw material used for all of the products. Light as well, we said that we have the light, heat and air conditioning for all of the factory, and sometimes it's not only for the factory, it's for the offices of the supervisors, officers of management. So it's not only related to the shop floor. So that's why it is classified as overhead. But this is the overhead related to the factory. We still have the corporate, the overhead related to the corporate for the company that you're working in. So here it is the cost of running the company other than the manufacturing activities. This company, it has a manufacturing department, but as we mentioned when we explained the organization structure lecture, we have several departments in the company. We have the sales and marketing department, accounting, human resources, financial, research and development, legal, counseling. So we have different departments in the company, and each of those departments is incurring some costs which are not related directly to the manufacturing department, but the work of all these departments facilitate my work. Let's say, for example, when I'm doing the advertising, I'm advertising for all of the products of my company. It's not an advertisement only for a specific product. Maybe sometimes we do for a specific product, but we intend to advertise our company and mostly our products. So this is a cost which is related to our product, but it is indirectly, so I can classify it as an overhead. So if I look at the breakdown of costs for manufacturing, you will see that mostly half of the cost is related to direct material. Then we have another portion for the direct labor. You can see it here in the blue. And in red, this is the cost related to factory overhead, which is a little bit larger than the corporate overhead. So you can see these were the two main classifications for costs, and it's very important to know all your costs included because it affects your final price, and sure, it will affect your profitability, whether you are making a profit out of the product you're manufacturing or not. Thank you for your listening.